Right, so I'm on to the usual issue of complaining about Einstein's relativity. And I found out from asking AI, artificial intelligence, Chatgpt, that from that it's approximately 50% of physicists, unbeknownst to them, don't believe Einstein's special relativity. Apparently the situation is that they claim to believe Einstein's special relativity, but actually they're believing a different theory, unbeknownst to them. So this is based upon what ChatGPT estimates. So it's only a very rough estimate that about 50% of physicists don't actually believe Einstein's special relativity. It's also unbeknownst to them that they don't believe special relativity. They think they believe special relativity, but are actually believing a different theory. And the problem goes back to before Einstein wrote his first paper on special relativity in 1905, because there was another theory called Lorentz theory. And both theories, Einstein's theory and Lorentz's theory, use the same mathematics, the Lorentz transformations. AI, ChatGPT, blames the bad education of physicists as being the problem, because what they get taught is Einstein's special relativity and they don't get taught anything about Lorentz theory. So when they come away from being taught special relativity, what many of them do is believe Lorentz theory, not special relativity, but they don't realise that's what they have come away believing is Lorentz theory, not special relativity, i.e. they have come away believing the wrong theory and are not even aware of it. So it's this person, Lorentz, whom the math of Lorentz transformations is named after. He had a theory that used the Lorentz transformations. Thus we have what is the Lorentz interpretation of that math and the Einsteinian interpretation. ChatGPT gives a summary table of the two interpretations. So you can see the difference. The Lorentz interpretation has a preferred frame, Einstein interpretation doesn't. And you've got absolute simultaneity in Lorentz interpretation, but not in the Einstein interpretation, and so forth. And you'll have all this about the one-way speed of light and so forth. And the cause of Lorentz transformations in the Lorentz interpretation is dynamical, while in Einstein it's geometric. So everything there is about how you understand things, and it's all different from the two interpretations. And so the Lorentz interpretation of the mathematics can be looked upon as a different theory to the Einsteinian interpretation. Lorentzian interpretation gives the Lorentz theory, and the Einsteinian interpretation gives special relativity. But with the bad teaching of relativity, students can come away believing the Lorentz interpretation, not the Einsteinian interpretation, and being unaware that is what they have done, they are believing the Lorentz theory, not special relativity. They think they are believing special relativity, but really they are believing Lorentz theory. So I'm now going to ChatGPT to give me some estimates for this, but first the question. My question is, are there physicists who believe in special relativity but actually believe the Lorentzian interpretation and are unaware that it is the Lorentzian interpretation which is different to the Einsteinian interpretation? And ChatGPT says yes. This is actually quite common, and it's a subtle point that trips up even professional physicists. And it says here's the situation clearly. There's two interpretations of special relativity, meaning the mathematics. You've got the Einsteinian special relativity, and that postulates that the speed of light is constant in all inertial frames, and that time and space are relative. There is no preferred frame. Time dilation, length contraction, and simultaneity are fundamental features of space-time itself, and that's really the relative simultaneity. While in the case of the Lorentzian interpretation, which is the Lorentz ether theory, and that maintains the preferred frame, which is called usually the ether, and it keeps absolute time, but moving clocks slow and lengths contract because of physical interactions with the ether. Mathematically, it produces the same predictions for all experiments as Einstein's special relativity, but the metaphysics is different. Chatgpt says why the confusion happens is that the Lorentz transformations are mathematical, and both Einstein's special relativity and Lorentz ether theory use them. They both use in the same mathematics. Most textbooks teach only the Einsteinian postulates, and almost all experiments are discussed in Einsteinian terms. Many physicists learn to use the transformations to calculate effects, time dilation, length contraction, Doppler shift, etc., without thinking about whether there's a true preferred frame. They assume that's what Einstein meant. And so Chatgpt says the result is many physicists today think they're doing Einsteinian relativity when, in terms of their mental model, that's what they're thinking, they are essentially assuming a Lorentzian view without realizing it, especially if they picture an absolute frame or a real underlying mechanism for length contraction and clock slowing. And this is more of a conceptual subtlety, but not a practical problem for calculation, because both interpretations predict the same experimental outcomes for inertial frames. So yes, there are definitely physicists who believe in special relativity's predictions, but are effectively thinking in Lorentzian terms, often realizing that the Einsteinian interpretation is metaphysically different. So these people, physicists, they believe in special relativity, but what they really believe, unbeknownst to them, is Lorentz theory and not special relativity. So then I go on to ask Chatgpt to give me the estimates of how many physicists are doing this. So Chatgpt gives me the mindset spectrum about the physicist's interpretation of special relativity. So the position of the physicist can range from fully being the Einsteinian point of view, where you've got his postulates, and that's approximately 40 to 60% of them. And then next group is mostly Einsteinian, but they do have some Lorentzian intuition, so they're not fully going by the Einsteinian interpretation. Then you've got another group which are ambiguous, it's mixed, it's not really quite clear what they're believing and the way they're doing their mathematics, and that's about 10 to 20% of them. And then you've got another group which is mostly Lorentzian interpretation, and that's about 5 to 10% of them. And finally, you've got a group which are fully into the Lorentzian interpretation, and that's about less than 5% of them. So the relevant bit is those physicists are going fully from the Einsteinian interpretation, and that's only 40 to 60% of them, approximately, of course. And they believe space-time is fundamentally relative, no preferred frame, time dilation and length contraction are frame dependent, not real physical effects. So this number of 40 to 60% of the physicists who believe in special relativity properly, and so AI Chatgpt agrees that is about 50% of physicists believe in special relativity, while about 50% believe in something else. So I'm pointing out once again, these numbers are, of course, only estimate. We really need to do more analysis with a proper study of asking the physicists. So what we have is approximately 50% of physicists, unbeknownst to them, don't believe Einstein's special relativity, and I think that's a terrible scandal. They're believing in the wrong theory, but they're unaware that they're believing in the wrong theory because the education system is so bad. I could rant on for more, but I shall finish it here. Thank you.